singer, songwriter, phenom, force. Those are just a few words that aptly describe Michele McTierney. Michelle's excuse-breaking journey of resilience and reinvention is a lesson for us all. From her incredible journey of losing over 230 pounds in 2 years, to following her dreams to become a singer-songwriter, to battling her struggle with depression and thriving, this week's Breaking Excuses features Michele McTierney. So today, I am honored to have with me my friend who has completely transformed her life in the span of less than 2 years. Singer, songwriter. I'm going to let her tell you all about the many roles she has because I can't keep up with them. But I would love to introduce you to Michele McTierney.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Celeste.
Oh, of course. Michele, let everybody know out there, who is Michele McTierney? You go about your stage name.
Yes.
Michele. Who is Michele McTierney in a nutshell? And what do you do right now?
Who am I in a nutshell? As my album is titled, I'm a work in progress.
What is that?
Well, it means that I see a vision of myself and where I want to be and what I want to do, and I'm constantly working towards that. I'm constantly improving that vision and refining it. So I have a list of to-dos and I'm always adding to the list and trying to keep my expectations reasonable, trying to keep the goals achievable, and just continue to move forward on that journey. Mm-hmm. So, work in progress.
Work in progress. I love it. Aren't we all? So tell us about your journey from, first of all, you kind of left out the fact that your many roles. Yes. Tell us the many facets of Michele.
Well, a few years ago I was 450 pounds. Wow. And very unhappy. I struggle and overcome my depression and anxiety every day. And I was in a good job, but it wasn't my passion. And it was very difficult to wake up every morning and kind of face the fact that I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel like myself. In 2013, at the end of 2013, I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm at the end of my rope. I really think that I'm going to check out, or I need to change something.
Wow. So check out of life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. And I was in a relationship that wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. He and I are still best friends. But when you just don't have that connection, mm-hmm. and it's just not the right situation for the both of you. Mm-hmm. So we ended up breaking up, and I decided, you know what, I need to do something for me. I need to dig myself out of this hole that I've dug myself into. And so I actually changed doctors and got a doctor who wasn't prescribing me tons and tons of medication.
Wow.
Because I felt like it was like elephant tranquilizers. Like I couldn't get up off the couch and I was just overwhelmed every day. So I made the steps and I said, what's always made you happy? Because let's start there. And it's always been music. So I started getting out the music again. I looked at certain technologies and realized I could write on the computer like little symphonies if I wanted to. And since I'm a techie, I was like, okay, I can pick up this. This is a doable thing.
Yes.
And I started picking up songs that I'd written before. I called my producer, who I'd been working with on an album several years before, and said, hey, I know it's been a while, but do you still have my stuff that we were working on? Do you still have the recordings and stuff? And he's like, yes.
Oh, wow.
And thank God you called, because he's like, I've been waiting for you to call me back so we could finish what you started.
Awesome.
And as a result, I went back in the studio. I started putting together a band. I started working out with a trainer, mm-hmm. and eating better. I started cutting out carbs and sugar.
Just one day. That pivotal moment.
That pivotal moment that said, you've got to start making changes. And I started making a list of the things that where I wanted to be, mm-hmm. versus what I could really accomplish right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just through diet and exercise on my own, without even a trainer, I lost 60 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Then I got with a trainer because I started thinking, you know what, I have over 200 pounds that I'm trying to lose. I can't do this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked into gastric bypass surgery. And I, you know, you rerot your whole gut and stuff, and it's very scary, and it's surgery and stuff. And I was like, oh, do I really want to do that? But I realized that it was just beyond me. Like, I needed that help.
Right.
So as a prerequisite for the health insurance, I had to actually demonstrate that I was having a certain type of diet. I was with a trainer and trying to exercise. So before the surgery, which was 6 months before the surgery, so I lost 60. Then with a trainer, I lost another 40.
Wow.
And then after the gastric bypass surgery, I lost another 130.
That's
so
amazing.
230 pounds.
And can I say how brave that is, knowing how scary such a surgery is? I mean, literally, like you said, rerouting your gut, your insides, and being brave enough to make the decision to say, you know what, I need to do this.
Well, I think when you're ready to make a change, you need to seek out people who support you, and you need to seek out people that you admire and respect, because I feel like when you're ready, you find the teachers that you need.
I love that.
It's true. It really is. And so I lucked out with getting a fantastic trainer who was both almost like my mini little shrink. We became best friends as well, and she was with me on this whole journey. And I couldn't have done it without her. There were people in the program who gave a lot of support to me, and it's not a magic bullet. I think there are two groups of people. The people who think, oh, this is going to be an easy way to solve my problems with weight, and they don't do the work, and then it's so much harder. They either gain the weight back, or they end up like in shock because I prepared myself. I ate everything that they told me to. I did everything that they said would be, you know, necessary to be the ideal patient, and I lost the most weight. They'd never had somebody lose 100 pounds before surgery.
Wow. So you became a student in the area that you needed to succeed.
Absolutely.
And in this case, losing weight, you did it to a T. There was a formula there that you followed. And you surpassed all expectations, including your own? Or did you expect to be that successful?
I was kind of like a do or die situation, because I was like, I'm not going to stop until there's a vision of myself here, and I need to get to there. I have to. And I just kept working. I actually have a video on YouTube that kind of explains a little bit about my weight loss journey, and a friend that I used to work out with.
What's the video called?
It's just Weight Loss Buddies, and it was when I did a Kickstarter program for finishing my first album. But it was kind of like, you just have to keep making steps. My friend was like, you know, I remember you coming into the gym, and you came into the gym 6 times a week.
6 times?
For like an hour at a time. And now I work out 3 times a week, 2 hours each time. But that's because I do an hour of cardio, and then I do some weight training, and then I do stretching and yoga. So it's like this whole Zen process that I go through, and it's for me. You know what I mean?
What keeps you going? What keeps you so disciplined?
I think part of it is I have that vision of myself, and I think I've always, even through the dark times, had what I call emotional rebar, where there's a part of me that's like holding me up that says, you deserve better, and you deserve to be successful, you deserve to be happy. Some people don't have that. They have to build that in.
Right.
And I've been through a lot of traumatic experiences and heartache and hardships. But at my core, I've always thought, there's something better. And I think that's what drives me, is that I can be better, I can be happier.
And is it a core belief in yourself?
I think so. I really believe that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, do you set goals?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that process.
Well, I love writing lists. I'll even write a list, and then if I do something that's not on the list, I'll write it on, and then I'll scratch it off. Just so I'll be like, did that too. Yes.
And so if you write it down, and so is it something that you need to get done within a certain period of time? What are your goals? What's your goal setting process like?
Well, For me, time bound is kind of relative. I used to, and I know you and I used to work on SMART goals and such when we had our ladies leadership group. And I actually had, for a while, I had a formal spreadsheet where I would put down goals and put down the steps and make sure that I could measure it, that I could achieve it, that it was attainable, you know, and all that great stuff with SMART goals. Now I kind of have, I know where I need to be, and I know what questions to ask, what tasks to do, and I basically just have lists, and I have a lot of different, you know, eggs in different baskets and stuff, and I just try to juggle it all.
Yes. So tell us about your musical journey. How did, I'm so curious to know, and I know everybody's curious to know, that day when you started getting back into your music, how did you get from that point to getting yourself such tremendous visibility, getting yourself the gigs and the different festivals that you're part of and the different initiatives that you're part of? Where did you start? How did you get there?
I actually, I had several friends, you included, who said, you know, you have a really great voice. Why don't you go on The Voice? Or why don't you, you know, you love music, why don't you do it again? And I was like, oh, I'm overweight, this is that. And it was like excuse after excuse that I was telling myself. And I think part of me was, I was afraid of failure, but I was also afraid of success.
Wow.
And so when I started making moves, the main driver for me losing weight was, I want to be able to get on stage and sing and dance with a full band. I want to be able to put together an album. I want people to listen to me. And I want to be able to do it without like heaving and huffing and puffing. Because at that point, when I was 450 pounds, I couldn't even sing a 2-minute song seated without starting to get winded. And you're just like mind blown when you make that realization to yourself, because you have to be honest with yourself. That's like the first step. And then with music, I still was uncertain about, even though I had done singing in the past and stuff, I was still uncertain about if I was any good. And I had done some music in college, but I'd had a lot of people who were not positive influencers, who I should not have listened to because they weren't in that area.
Right.
So why would you ask a plumber for advice on how to play flute? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you wanna start asking experts, hey, am I good? What steps can I make going forward? Because I had no network whatsoever. I started from the very bottom. I didn't have parents who were in the music industry. I didn't have friends or family that were really involved in music or the arts. And no one that was even currently could give me advice or you know, especially in the digital realm.
How did you navigate all this?
Well, I went and did a voice lesson. I saw online, because there were a lot of vocal teachers, but they were not doing rock and roll and pop vocals. And it's a little bit different for singing opera or singing show tunes to singing in a more rock, pop, contemporary kind of way.
Right.
So I saw this ad and they said free consultation. And I was like, well, what can it hurt?
Right.
So I go there and I sing a song and I had my eyes closed the whole time. I was so nervous. I was shaking and stuff. And I opened my eyes after the song, and the woman who was listening to me was like...
She was just aghast.
Well,
I dropped.
But see, this is what I interpreted. Because I was so fearful of failure and having somebody say I was horrible and having my dreams crushed, I immediately started picking up my bags, putting on my coat, and I was like, I'm so sorry to waste your time.
Without any feedback?
Without any feedback.
Oh my goodness, wow.
I immediately started going, I'm so sorry to waste your time. I'm just going to go. And she goes, wait, what? And I said, I see by the expression on your face that this was not a good performance. and I'm really sorry for wasting your time. And she said, no. Most people who are at your level don't bother with voice lessons.
Ah.
No, and immediately I went to the negative again. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Oh, you thought she was
like,
lower than your level.
Yes, and I'm like, oh, God. I'm like
Wow.
that woman who was on American Idol who did scat. I mean, like, I was just like, oh, Jesus.
Why do I
Please.
remember her? That was,
And she goes, and she started laughing. She's like, oh, my God, you don't know how good you are, do you?
And I can attest, this girl can blow. She can blow. Okay.
But I had
We might
heard
get a
so
treat
much
later,
negativity
yes.
from other people.
Uh-huh.
And even my parents were like, well, even if you were decent at singing and you did take voice lessons to get better, it's a waste of your money, it's a waste of your time, get a real job, you know, be an adult.
Wow.
And I heard that from so many people, but that's how I got to be overweight, and I got to be so depressed, and I was on all these medications and stuff. And so I listened to this vocal teacher, because I actually said, I'm like, so I think you're just being nice. I don't think I sound that good. Everybody has, you know, who's ever been around me has said, well, you're all right, but, you know, you're not that 1% that's ever going to make it. Why bother?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, you are.
Wow.
You really are.
What did that feel like in that moment?
I was almost pissed. Like, because I was like, why were they always like saying that I wasn't any good, and why did I listen to them?
You were pissed at all the time that you wasted listening to people who didn't know what they were talking about.
That, and for not believing in myself.
Wow.
For not following my bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you love something enough and you want it bad enough, you can get good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you know, anybody can be taught something.
Yes.
So I was held back by my own fears, my own insecurities, and by other people I shouldn't have listened to.
So take us from that point to, oh my goodness, you are a performing whirling dervish.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it.
And so what was the process that you went through to make yourself known, to give yourself visibility after that?
Well, baby steps. So I had terrible stage fright. I would go up on stage and I would have to have my eyes closed and I would be shaking.
Wow.
And so nervous
What do
about
you think
rejection.
the difference was?
Well, one thing that I read somewhere, was when you have stage fright, you're being selfish.
Wow.
Because you're not in it for the audience and you're not in it to convey your message. You're doing it for yourself. Like, in terms of, like, you're so consumed with how you look and how you sound that you forget that you have something you're trying to show to people. Mm-hmm. And you're basically like, it's like putting soap over a window, and it just clouds all that light that could come through.
I love that. Your stage fright, you talking about stage fright being selfish in a way, that resonates. That is so awesome, and it reminds me of the fact that we are supposed to manifest our greatness and share it with the world.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, there, you know, in the Bible there's that story about burying your talents in the sand, and how the 3 sons, one went out into the world and spent all of that money that his father gave him, and he failed. But he came back and his dad was like, good job for trying.
Right.
And you learned a lot, right? Go into business. And the second son had been successful, and he's like, well, you two can go into business now. Learn from each other. Like, he knows what not to do, and you know what to do, and let's do this together. And then the third son comes back, and he's like, here's your money back. I buried it in the ground, and you know, and I'm a good son too, because I didn't lose all that money. Mm-hmm. And the father's like, I'm most disappointed in you, because you didn't even try.
Wow.
You didn't use the talents, because the gold coins were talents.
Yes.
And you didn't use your talents and go forth into the world and at least try. I have more respect for your brother who lost everything and tried than you who wasted a year of your life.
Wow. And so you understanding that stage fright was selfishness, did that break you of it? Was it a process?
Well, you know me, I'm a really super nice person.
She's very super nice.
I mean, not to say like I'm so nice, but...
And she's so crazy.
You too. But, you know, I love giving to people. Yes. And I do a lot of charity work now because, like, before I was so scared and, you know, and I never thought, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that, I have nothing to give. Mm-hmm. And so I'm always trying to give to people. And when I realized that I was making it about me, it kind of broke me from that, because I'm like, I want to give to other people. I want to be selfless, and I have so much, like, there's so many messages on my album, and there's so many more songs I'm writing and performing that have real messages about how I've gone through a journey, and pitfalls and stupidity and and all kinds of things that I've encountered, but I've overcome them somehow. It's very cathartic. And I think that music, like so much of music has saved my life. One of the times that I was my most depressed, I was driving and it was raining really hard, and I was like, this is really tough. I'm on this journey, I've lost some weight, I'm starting to play out, but I'm terrified. I'm even more terrified now than I was before I started. And I was so incredibly depressed, and I was like, maybe I should just hit a tree. and on the radio came on Queen's Under Pressure.
Oh yeah, I love that song. Under Pressure.
Well, and it was just like, it's not only your pressure, but one of the lines is, why don't we give love another chance and, love ourselves and love other people. I mean, there are people on the streets that have it worse than you. And I felt like, and I looked in the rearview mirror and I was like, I'm an asshole. Like, here I am crying because I'm not quite there yet, and I feel like I'm afraid of moving to the next step, because what if I get to this level and then I don't succeed? What if I get to this step and I fall? And then it'll be devastating, like, because the higher you get, the longer the fall, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna hurt more. But I suddenly realized, like, I need to continue, because there's something special about what I'm doing. It's my talent, it's my light, it's my purpose. And never in my life had I really had a purpose. And when I started following my bliss, I found that purpose.
And so, what is it like? What's the process like today when you wake up and you know that you have a performance coming this weekend? What do you go through inside? How does that feel?
It's a mixed bag, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, now she's performing all the time and she has an album out, and she can just get up there and rock the stage or whatever. I'm still nervous before I go on.
Wow.
And when I wake up that morning, I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. I actually got a tattoo when I was halfway into my weight loss, and it says "Noli temere crede tantum," which means fear not, just believe.
Oh, I love that.
And it really is like, I can't control what I can't control. The only thing I control is myself and putting the best foot forward that I possibly can. Once you do the prep work, you've done the rehearsals and everything, what goes on stage is a part of that, but it's also part of fate or the universe or whatever. And even if you fail, it's a learning lesson. Like, I think Oprah had said, failure is life's way of saying you're going in the wrong direction.
Wow.
And so I try to always make it like a learning lesson. Whatever happens, happens. And what I don't have control over, I shouldn't worry about. I just have to believe that, whether you believe in God or the universe or even just yourself, you have to believe that there are reasons for everything. And fear can only hold you back.
Exactly. So when we talk about fear, a lot of people make excuses for things because they're afraid. What excuses do you feel that you've broken in this journey?
Oh, geez. That's a good question. I still struggle with them. Whether people are actually going to listen to me. Whether they're going to get the message. Because I've had some people misinterpret my songs. And honestly, that hurts a lot. Because they're like, if they really listen to them, they'd realize that there's a story in that song, and there's a, like, where your thought process changes. There's a lesson, and sometimes they just see it very superficially, and that makes me a little sad, because I'm like, did I write good enough, or am I putting the right persona forward? And that's also another thing, is I worry sometimes. I have my stage name, and I have my legal name, and first I did it to protect myself, because I would get stalkers and things like that, but now it's almost like I'm juggling different personas, like my work persona and my music persona, because like when I'm Michele McTierney, and I feel like most myself when I am, I'm, I feel powerful and I feel engaged and I feel creative. But it's kind of, I have to make sure that I monitor myself, because I can't be fake. And I think a lot of people will suddenly put on that customer service face, and then they forget themselves and they forget why they're doing something. I think that's why a lot of people are in jobs that they don't like, but they're super highly functioning and they're super successful at it because they've put on the face of like, well, at least I'm making money.
Right.
Or at least I have a job. Or at least, I'm good at what I do. And I get that reflection, that glow of people saying, oh, you did a good job. And then I suddenly am filled up with worth. Whereas if you're doing something that you really love and it's genuine, you don't need any of that.
Wow. Do you struggle with perfectionism? What does that look like for you, and how do you deal with it? Because I know I.
Well, like I said, I have a vision in my head of where I want to be, and everything is always going to fall short. And I've learned that sometimes good enough is good enough, at least at this point in time. I know that people have told me, like, Michelle, why are you upset or why are you disappointed in yourself for doing this? And I'm like, because I didn't do this, this, and this. And they're like, yeah, but most people would have been here. like this would have been fine. This would have been normal. But you're here. Like, if you do an event and most people would only have, like, for a charity or something, I did the suicide prevention benefit concert.
Yes.
And I put it together, and it was, most people would have done like a little benefit, a couple hours long, a couple people. I did a full-on festival.
Wow.
With no real event coordination experience. No contacts whatsoever. Way
fire.
out of my depths. But somehow I pulled it off. I had 30 bands.
30?
On 3 stages.
30
On 3 different stages. I coordinated all of them to play at different staggered times.
Oh my goodness.
I had a raffle. I had volunteers. I had like a dozen volunteers who made it happen, who kept me sane. And I couldn't believe they were doing it for free. But it was because they really believed in, they had either friends who had suffered from suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety. They'd lost friends. People who are survivors, the people who have lost people.
How did you bring visibility to this important thing so that 30 bands agreed to sign on and do this for free?
I sent out press releases and letters and called people and said...
Cold calling. Was it cold calling?
Totally cold calling.
Wow.
I went to Fox 45. I went to, all these different radio stations and stuff. And Fox 45 actually picked it up and said, this is a really good thing. It's a really hard topic because nobody wants to talk about depression and anxiety. Nobody wants to talk about people hurting themselves and taking their own lives. But it needs to be said. So I went on there for an interview and talked about, it was the See the Good concert because one of my songs called Courage, which I wrote at the beginning of my journey of like weight loss and music and everything, where I felt very doubtful about myself and I was like, I want to follow my dreams, but what if I don't make it? In that song is I can't see the good that's right in front of me. And I wanted to have that as the mantra because I wanted us to see the good in ourselves, in each other, and in the world. And how if people come together and they believe in something, the sky's the limit.
That's awesome. And I'm hearing a theme here of you creating your opportunities. Of you pushing past all of your excuses, all of your doubts, and saying, I need to do this. I'm fighting for my life here. And in so many ways, you've done that. I'm fighting for my life, so I have to have this very dangerous surgery so I can live. I'm fighting for my life, so I have to follow this passion that is gnawing at me so I can live. And battling depression, that is something literally that millions of people are going through, and your bravery, your courage to say, hey, we need to bring awareness to this in this area, and to get 30 bands to co-sign and agree
for free. They played for free.
For free.
Amazing bands. I can't thank you guys enough, really. And we're doing it again this year, so get ready.
All about creating opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, I was shocked that Fox 45 wanted to even put the poster up and just say, hey, it's happening, let alone have me come on there and explain the event and tell a little bit of my story.
And that was a cold call and contact as well?
Yeah.
Awesome. If you had any advice to give someone out here who is their midlife, they're not happy where they are. They're thinking about changing course or even exploring a passion, but they're still hesitant. What advice would you give them? What first steps
I
could you
think
possibly
the
encourage
first
them?
one is find people that are at the level that you want to be in, or at least are on the track. Because I started talking to musicians, I went to open mics, I started talking to the people who ran the open mics. I started getting together, just jamming with musicians, and they introduced me to my producer, Marco Delmar, who was fantastic. He went above and beyond to help me out. I would constantly ask him questions of, artistic development and the business, and and I trusted his judgment because I know that he wanted to have the best album possible, and he really is a fantastic person where he wants people to succeed and be happy. You need to find positive people. You need to find people that are engaged with the thing that you want to do. I mean, I found voice teachers. I talked with all kinds of bands and people in the music industry. I joined associations, Baltimore Songwriters Association, the Washington Music Association. I joined all these different clubs and started talking to people. I went out to other people's concerts and venues, and that was really hard for me because of social anxiety. It was, kind of hard to get out there. But I went and I started just going up to the people that were on stage, and I was like, man, that was really great. I just wanted to tell you that. And then they would chit chat back and forth. I had an amazing experience though. I went to see this band who always sells out locally. And I really love them. And I went up to one of the guys afterwards and I was like, man, that was a great set. He's like, I know you. And I was like, really?
You're Michele McTierney.
He said it. He's like, you're Michele McTierney. I see you everywhere. And I was like, oh my God. Hugs, I was thrilled. And I'm getting more and more of that. And I'm just like, shoot.
Just putting yourself out there and just doing what you love.
Because a lot of it, people think, oh, it's all about heads down, busy work. And as you said, a lot of it is going down that rabbit hole or getting distracted with little minute details. Keep the big picture, because everything you do should be going towards your goal. And if it's outside here, or if it's not getting you results, just scrap it.
Where do you find the energy?
I don't know. I try not to eat a lot of sugar, so I'm not. Definitely things that give is sleep, but it's about stepping out there, getting outside your comfort zone, because if you feel comfortable, you're doing it wrong. Because you're not growing.
Wow.
Growing hurts. Growing is uncomfortable. And that's where you should live.
When do you know when will you know you have arrived, or have you?
Oh, well, I don't know if I'll ever think I've arrived.
Ah,
I could if I win an award, I'll be like, oh gosh,
that perfectionism.
How bad was the competition? Like, or I just luck of the draw. But I don't want to ever be focused on the outside kudos. I want to be always focusing on how do I feel and the connections that I make. I could lose my voice tomorrow, but now that I have made connections and stuff, there's other things I can do with music. I would be very depressed and devastated by that loss, but at the same time there's a lot of other things I can do, and I need to it's just making a slight turn. And like I said, if it doesn't come from within, then it's without.
Right.
One movie that I wanted to talk about though is Defending Your Life. It's with Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep. It's from the 90s. And it's all about fear and how people are held back by fear. And so when these two characters die, they go to Judgment City, where their life essentially a movie plays. And there are judges who judge whether you have overcome enough fear to move on to the next step, whatever that is. And they never tell you what that is. But when I saw that movie, and I always try to think of that, I think, even if tomorrow was the last day, or today was the last day, would I be proud of myself on what I've accomplished so far? Would I be able to say, you know what, I didn't achieve this big, huge, lofty goal, but I was on my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of that.
And you can say that.
I can.
Awesome. Wow. So one last question.
Mm-hmm.
If Michele McTierney today could speak to the woman who woke up that morning and said, I got to do something or I'll check out. If you can look back and talk to that person from the perspective you are now, what would you say to her?
I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't.
Wow.
I wouldn't say a thing.
Why is that?
Because when I was at that moment, it had to be my decision. Nothing anybody else would say or do, even myself, because I wouldn't have believed it.
Wow.
So it had to be my decision. It had to be me going forward and doing it. Essentially, I mean, nobody does anything alone, but that decision and that desire to change and that desire to go towards my bliss and be happier was something that I had to choose. And it's a choice I make every day.
That is amazing.
I thought you were going to scold me. You're like, Michelle, that's a cop-out answer.
That is amazing. No, we're going to end on that note because drop the mic. You can't get better than that. Michelle, I want to thank you. It has been a privilege. It's been an honor. It's been an inspiration.
Michelle, you've always been an inspiration to me.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to the Mutual Admiration Society.
I love you so much.
I love you. And your website, would you like to share your website with any
Oh,
girl?
sure. I'm sorry, I dropped your mic. Oh, you dropped the mic.
the mic. I dropped the mic. Damn. Okay.
My website is michellemusic.com, so it's Michelle with one L, as in elegant.
Visit Michelle at michelemctierney.com or michellemusic.com. If you like this video, please tell your friends about Excuse Breaker. The world needs more inspiration to live fully and freely. Thank you. Visit www.excusebreaker.com.